Hello, my name is Brant Hunt. Tonight I'm going to share with you a subject which is I entitled Character. And today is the third day of February, I should say, 2021. And the statement I share with you is something I got from my mom a long time ago. And she used to tell me simply is if you don't have your name, in other words, who you are, that is your character, you don't have anything. And then let that sink in, because to be honest with you, the the approach that people see with you is how you interject in society or this world we live in, and they judge you. You see, they judge you based upon what do you like? Who are you like? Is your word true? Um, do you say things to not to antagonize people, but to be included? That is, you include others. In other words, it's a characteristic simply is that you are interested in hearing from other viewpoints, other worldviews, instead of being very dogmatic and thinking you know it all. And there is a reason for this, because if you work, are you there punctually, or do you give excuses? What you're doing, when you show up late, that reflects a lot about people, and it doesn't. It not only does it that, but it also reflects upon others who work with you, and they don't want to work with you many times. They may first give you a break or give you a grace or some mercy, but if you continue to act that way, they don't want to. They don't want anything to do with you. And so this is a problem that I see. I watched how I'm served at restaurants in the past and how they treat me, and I make judgments upon that. I judge people based upon how they treat me. And I used to go. I don't go many. I don't even go. Well, naturally, you can't go in anymore. Hardly any fast food restaurants. Although you actually can here. I know you can go into Wendy's here restaurant, and I think you can go into McDonald's, but I don't go to McDonald's. It's probably the bottom of the barrel there. But Chick-fil-A is all drive-through, and others are drive-through, like I think Arby's and some others. But anyway, that's not the point here. The point simply is that if you don't care, in other words, when you have a perspective, when you shoot out, that is, you share from others with your perspective, that is who you are and what you're about. And if you don't think much of yourself, no one's going to think much of you neither. And if you always tell lies, you eventually get caught, and people don't trust you. Only those that basically hang around with those type of people are those who also tell lies, you see. So, do you just do you manipulate people? Do you try to get something from them instead of being coming in with your attitude simply being, um, what can I help? What can I add to this group? Or what can I do? How I can add to this work area where I work at, instead of trying to take. You can see it very clear. And if you go with that type of flow, that perspective, then what happens simply is that you're not going to go anywhere. You're not. And your integrity, who you are, like I said, one of the big ones for me simply is just not tell lies. You just be honest. If you don't know anything about certain things, you just tell them, I don't know. Because basically, when you tell lies, you can't remember who you told those lies to, also. So you can't cover your tracks that well, you see. So I see things, I made mistakes in my life. You better believe I made plenty of them. Um, and I made things, made mistakes. I've told lies in the past. Another thing you don't do, you don't cheat. I can recall being in a class with probably 12 to 15 students, political science students. And this was probably in the early 80s. And there was a attractive girl that came in the class, and she's kind of like she's a beauty queen type of, that type. And she really is, not there. She's taking a class, I think simply is because it's a requirement for her, whatever area she was going into. But I remember her coming to me and saying, can I look at your paper during the test? And I says, nope, you're not going to be able to do that. Not me. You see, I realized simply is, no, you've been doing this for other people. You've been manipulating other guys. And sure enough, during the class, she had already got another guy, and he was allowing her to cheat. And I watched it. I should have probably said something about it, but I says, no, she's going to eventually learn that you can't do these things. And that's just an example of that taking place during I was in college. And there were people who would do that, you see. I found that I led a group of, I was involved in politics a lot at that age in the 80s. And I was actually the chairman of the Republican Party at that point. Don't get me misunderstood here. I'm not into politics anymore, folks. Okay. So I'm not a Republican, Democrat, whatever. And there was another girl who became what they call the vice chairman, and she was very popular. And it didn't take long for me to realize that she never showed up half the time. She wasn't dependable. She wasn't committed. See, that's another thing. Simply is, are you committed? I got confronted one time at my church. I was involved in a singles group that isn't a church, and I was doing the same thing. And someone a guy came up to me and says, I need to talk to you about something here. This is an issue with you. You're telling people you're going to be somewhere and you're not showing up. In other words, you're too busy. You're either too busy or you're just not being responsible. And this was in my late 20s. And he said something simply, he pointed out in scripture. So let your yes be yes and let your no be no. Simple as that. I think the key is simply, and the whole regard about this episode that took place in my life, was that I didn't realize I had a problem until someone pointed out. He didn't do anything he wasn't, in fact, I was totally surprised. And yet it was something that needed to be said. And it got my attention, rightfully so. And the guy did it. He didn't do it in a mean way. He didn't put me down or anything of that nature. He said, you got a problem here, and you need to deal with it. You need to understand it. You need your yes to be yes and your no to be no. If you cannot commit to this, then say no. Don't try to be Mr. Popularity here or whatever type of thing. So these are just examples of what took place in my own life. And that was important. That was very important that the guy came to me and shared those things with me, because he could have ignored it, and he didn't. And I'm thankful that he did do that. You see, if he didn't care enough about me, he would not have said anything to me. You see, so the key simply is if you enjoy taking from others, you'll be taken also. If you enjoy lying to people or manipulating them, you will reap that also. You will be lied to and you'll be manipulated. I saw that in my dad uh, many times in some ways, but how he would sometimes manipulate other people, and yet there would be people who manipulate him. I saw it. I just clearly saw it, even as he got older. It was a sad state seeing your dad doing that, but he did. I don't think he even realized what he was doing. That's not to put down my dad. That's not the point here. That's not, I don't want to, but I'm just giving you some examples that stood out to me about in my life and with my dad, such and such. And character does make a difference because simply is that, especially for men. I mean, it's all both, but if you're in a relationship or you're married, so to speak, or you're living with a partner, your word better be true, or that relationship's not going to go anywhere, or it's gonna flounder, and there's going to be some issues there, and the other partner is not going to respect you, and rightfully so. You don't have any business pursuing things that cheating. There are all kinds of ways of cheating. Even people cheat in relationships. Say, "Well, I won't get caught." That's not the point. You made a commitment. You made a vow to do what you said you're going to do. If you don't want to be a part of it, then you eventually going to have to say, "Look, I need to move out of this situation or whatever." But the point simply is, if you're cheating in a relationship in all kinds of ways, money wise, seeing another girl or woman or whatever you want to call it, or man, same thing. That is, with a woman doing the same thing. It's wrong. It's just totally wrong because someone's put faith in you to be who you say you're going to be. So it's just some things I see in people that in myself, and that's okay. We all make mistakes, and we learn from my mistakes too. I think one of the saddest things that I can say that I knew a person that the husband and wife really are not getting along, and they need to part. Basically, they need to move on. But the sad part simply is the woman in the relationship, in the marriage, um, is miserable. In fact, they're both miserable, and they won't do anything about it because they're too scared. Either there's a expectation of what they've got into. They just need to say to themselves they made a mistake and move on with life. But many are fearful of doing that also. And that creates, you hang around, continue to hang around, hoping something's going to get better. And reality simply is you're already stuck around for a long time, knowing simply is that nothing's going to change. I know that many women fall for this. That is, men do too, but I'm saying I sense it from women that they think they're going to change the relationship. They think they're going to change the man. Good luck with that. That doesn't work. You see, but that's what you're doing. And see, when you're going in a relationship or a marriage or partnership, and you're doing this, you're already setting up yourself for a fall because you're going to try to manipulate your partner or try to force them to do certain things. And they're going to renege on that. They're not going to like that, you see. And that explains why you need to be honest in a relationships. You need to be honest about certain things. I don't like this in you. Why are you doing this? Before you make that major commitment, you see, before you sign on the dotted line. Although I don't agree with that, but the point simply is that marriage. One thing I really stress about this, I think about it. My parents were super religious. I mean, they were religious in Christianity, yes, but they were religious. But I'm surprised that my parents got not married in the church. I've never figured that one out. They went to the justice of peace. Although I think that has a lot to do with what my mom did. And the interesting things my mom did, she was in love with just being in love or having a marriage partner, just having somebody. But her parents were pointing out to her that he's the first guy you ever dated. You need to look around. You need to check out the other fish around here. You see. And she didn't do that. And her parents warned her that he was not the right guy for her. And he got to the point simply as to try to get her attention so much was that they didn't show up at the justice of peace. That was their warning to her. They were trying their best to help her see her error, to get her attention and say, this is not a good combination here. Try somebody else. Don't wait. Don't just choose the first guy or whatever, or the first woman, whatever does this. So all you do have is your name, as my mother would say to me, or your reputation as a person. Is your talk cheap? Do you sense to, what's the word? Do you truly love people, or do you try to get something from them? And I've said this a little bit earlier, but I want to stress a little bit more. Are you there in any kind of a relationship or friendship just to get something instead of actually giving in a relationship or giving in a friendship, you see, to help one another, to help the other, I should say. Think about these things, okay? It's important that you have good character, who you are, integrity, learning how to build friendships, and learning how to be good to one another. There's so much what I call using one another, or, well, he wronged me, so I'm going to wrong him, or or the other way around. And so guess what? You see, and so there's bitterness there, and it doesn't go anywhere. You see, you got to know what's going on. It's not just in marriage relationships or anything of that nature or partner. It's in all areas of your life, work life, school life. When you was in school, were you there? Did you skip a bunch of classes, such and such? I find it odd. It simply is. I think that where I go to school, that is a university here locally, that they don't have Friday classes. They only have Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. They don't even have a Friday class. Interesting, isn't it? I remember people talking back in the 80s, and I'll say this for the last thing. It's remarkable what's happened. Well, we need to, have a 4-day week instead of a 3-day, and 3 days off instead of actually having 5 days of working or 6 days working. Well, they got that now. The problem simply is people can't make 40 hours a week anymore. That's why many people working 2 to 3 jobs just to make 40 hours, you see. And then the sad part simply is there's no medical insurance or any kind of fringe benefits with these jobs anymore because these people are not full time. These people are part time. And that's another issue with corporations these days. Is that simply they cheat people. You know, they look at people as nothing but cattle. That's what they're calling human resources. That's what you're calling human resources. You see. So anyway, I kind of got off on a tangent here. I just hope you take these words and think about them and be the best person you can be. Okay. All right. Thank you for being here. You take care. Good night.